Hey guys, welcome to The Link. I'm Crystal. In this podcast, we talk about how to attract and build and nurture community, how to connect with others, and form deep and meaningful relationships. All right, today we're going to talk about how to support your friend through a really tough time. And this, I have personal experience with it because in 2015, I went through one of the darkest moments of my life where I experienced a stillbirth at 8 months pregnant. It went from Wednesday, I went to the doctor. They told me I had the perfect pregnancy. And on Friday, I was in the hospital getting ready to deliver my stillborn because they couldn't find her heartbeat. And they told me that she had passed away. So it was a really dark moment. But I would say that during that time, my friends really stood by me and helped me out. And I want to talk about some of the things that they did so that if you have a friend who's going through a really tough time, you're able to support them. It may not necessarily work because everyone grieves differently, but I think there's some things that we learn from it that I learned from it that I can share with you that you might find helpful. The first thing that I'll say is not something you can do, it's something that you don't do. Don't tell the person, hey, whatever you need, just ask. That is it. I understand that you mean well, but it's a lot of pressure on the person going through a hard time. They're supposed to come up with something that they can ask you for you to support them, and they don't know the boundaries that they have in that moment, right? So if they're having a really bad day and they need a hug and you're at work, can they call you up and be like, hey, can you come over and give me a hug? I feel horrible. They're probably not going to do that. So don't say, oh, whatever you need, just ask, I'll be here. That puts a lot of pressure on the other person, the person who's going through it, to come up with something that you can do to support them. Which leads me to my next point, which is take initiative. One of the people who stood out the most to me during this horrible time was my cousin-in-law, Jill. Shout out to you, Jill. Yeah, you're a real one. Jill never asked me, hey, whatever you need, just ask. She would literally text me and be like, hey, I'm at Cazoba, or I think it was Chipotle. She was like, I'm at Chipotle. I'm about to come by your house. Tell me what you and your husband want, and I'll pick it up and bring it to you. When I was in the hospital about to deliver, she dropped off some mango nectar because she knew I wouldn't be able to eat anything, and she just didn't want me drinking water all day or ice cubes. I don't remember what it is, but pretty much she dropped off some mango nectar so that I could have something sweet. And it was, I don't know, mango nectar still has a special place in my heart because of that moment. But she took the initiative. She didn't ask me what I needed. She was like, okay, well, they need to eat, so I'm going to make sure they have food. And I really, really appreciated that. That meant a lot to me. So shout out to you, Jill. Number 3, don't tell them how to process their grief or how to process what they're going through in the moment. They didn't hire you to be their counselor. And that's not your job to tell someone how to go through it. And something that I realized that even if you experience the same exact thing, everyone grieves differently. So, like for instance, my husband and I lost the same baby, and the way he grieved was completely different than the way I grieved. And I can't tell him how to grieve, and he can't tell me how to grieve. It's our own process. So I think I've heard it sometimes where people say things like, oh, don't be sad, or, I think one thing someone told me was like, oh, it was better this way. And I'm like, how could you say that to someone who lost a baby? That's a really hard thing to grasp. So I think it's better to not tell someone how to feel or how to process or give them a timeline in which they need to get over this grief. So if you can't tell someone how to feel and you can't say whatever you need, just ask, what can you say? Honestly, I don't know. Sometimes you don't have to say anything. Sometimes it's good just to listen, just to be there, just to support your friend through the hard time. You don't always have to give advice. One of the best things that helped me get through the process was a friend, and actually she's a counselor. I was really grieving. I was in a really dark place. And she connected me with someone who had also experienced the loss of a baby. And when I called this lady, her name's Gianna, shout out to you, Gianna, she told me her experience, and then she just got quiet, and I poured out my heart, and I just talked about everything that I experienced and how I was feeling, and it was so healing. I don't remember her saying anything. I just remember her listening, and that did so much for me in the moment. So don't always feel like you need to give advice. Sometimes the best thing that you can say is nothing. So don't be afraid just to be quiet and listen and just be there for your friend. That can do more for them than saying something, forcing out words could. Another thing that you can do for your friend is distract them. I remember when I was going through the loss of a child, it was in a very dark place. My cousins came up from Florida, and I lost the baby the end of August, and my birthday is like mid-September. And my cousins came up around September, and they were like, hey, we're going to take you out for your birthday. And I think that was the first time in a long time since I lost a baby that I actually did my makeup, got dressed. And it was a good distraction. It was nice to be around people, to be out, to actually take care of myself. So that was a beautiful thing. They didn't really talk about it like that. They just were there to help me enjoy the life that I had. The final thing that you can do, that I have for a friend who's going through a really difficult time, is to just be there. If you don't have money to buy a gift or pick them up food or take them out, just show up. Around the time that I lost my baby, my husband was in school. He was taking classes in the evening, and he had a job. So sometimes I would be left alone with just me and my toddler at the time. And I was suicidal. There were a couple instances where I tried to take my life during that moment. It was really dark. But I had a friend who would, after work, pick up her daughter and come over my house just to hang out whenever my husband had to go to work, just so I wouldn't have to be alone. And that meant so much to me. So much to me. They didn't have to do that. I know they were tired. They had their own child. And they would literally just sit on my couch and hang out until my husband came back home. I don't even remember what we talked about. The whole moment was just like a blur, but I do remember her being there. So thanks to you. That probably helped save my life. So if you don't know how to support your friend, and just be there. In conclusion, I hope you found these tips helpful. If you have a friend that's going through a really dark time, just try to be there for them as much as possible. Let me know if you've ever had friends that supported you through a dark time. What are some of the things they did? Have a good day. And don't forget to make someone smile today. Later.